Hey, do you want to watch The Notebook?
Sure, I love The Notebook.
I've never seen it.
Wow, have you seen any movies based on the novels of Nicholas Sparks?
Nope.
What if we watched all of them?
I'm willing to try anything.
Sparks, 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 sparks.
Notes.
Hello, I am Whitney,
And I'm Zach.
and this is Sparks Notes, a limited podcast series where we watch and discuss every movie based on a novel of Nicholas Sparks.
And today we're covering a big one. It's The Notebook from 2004.
This is the movie that really started this whole podcast.
Yeah,
As
as you heard the intro.
yeah, the intro is a reenactment, but it is also very close to what happened.
Yeah, I had never seen The Notebook, so I felt like it was time that I do it because I'm a big Ryan Gosling fan,
Yeah,
and I feel like even my mom was like shocked and like shamed me for not seeing this movie. It like somehow it came up. It's like you got to see The Notebook, and it's like all right, if my mom says I got to see The Notebook, then I definitely got to make it happen.
well, and I think that you weren't really a Ryan Gosling fan. You were kind of posing until, we watched
Well,
the.
well, I like him in every movie I've seen, like Drive and Barbie and Blue Valentine. He's like I've always thought he was great. He's always good.
For sure. So, yeah, The Notebook came out in 2004. As we said, it stars Ryan Gosling, but also Rachel McAdams. It's a stacked cast.
James Marsden.
Well, yeah, it has James Marsden. But then it also has James Garner, and then is it Gina Rollins?
Yeah, I think so.
I was doubting that if maybe her name was Jenna, but I think it's Gina.
Yeah, they play the old versions of Gosling and McAdams.
Yeah, that's a spoiler. My God. And then Sam Shepard plays Ryan Gosling's character's dad. And yeah, James Marsden. Oh, Joan Allen plays Rachel McAdams' mom. So it's a pretty hot cast, I would say. But did I say, I feel like I say that about all of them.
Yeah, I mean, just yeah, McAdams and Gosling. That's some real star power there, and this is
It
kind of
is.
early in their careers,
Yeah,
right?
they didn't have star power back then. Like
Yeah,
Ryan Gosling maybe did, but or he had a little bit.
yeah. I don't
But
even know what he did before this.
well, he was on the Mickey Mouse Club. Did we talk about this?
Not on the podcast, I don't. At least.
I know, but IRL, did we talk about that?
Maybe. I know I've seen him in Goosebumps when he was a little baby.
Right, he did do Goosebumps. He was on Mickey Mouse Club as a baby. He probably hadn't done a lot before this, like of big movies. But this came out the same year as Mean Girls, also. So this was a obviously a big year for Rachel McAdams. And I think before this, she had maybe done like The Hot Chick or something like that.
Uh-huh. Yes, she really showed her range with Mean Girls in this.
I
Two
know.
very different characters. She really pops in both of those movies.
Yeah. So, what is The Notebook about? For anyone listening that has not seen The Notebook, we will give you a little synopsis. Do you wanna or me?
Um, you should, because you know this movie better than I do. I've only seen it the one time, and
Um,
it was like a month, or I guess it was like probably like 2 months ago or something. We watched this together.
yeah, it was almost 2 months, I think. Well, the book is a love story, as as you may have guessed, because all Nicholas Sparks stories are love stories.
Do you want to watch the trailer like we usually do?
Oh, forgot. Yeah, let's do it.
It's part of our tradition.
It is our tradition.
It was a magical summer. Noah was a country boy. Allie was from the city. They met the night of the carnival. They had nothing in common, but after seeing Allie that night, something inside Noah snapped.
Will you go out with me?
No!
No? Damn, my hand's slipping.
Okay, fine. I'll go out with you.
No, don't do me any favors.
No, I want to.
Say it again.
I want to go out with
All right, we'll go out.
They fell in love, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
You want to dance with me?
you. Sure.
This is a good story. I think I've heard it before.
It's like a dream.
So what do you do, Noah?
I work at the lumber yard.
How much do you make at your job?
40 cents an hour?
From the best-selling novel by Nicholas Sparks
Oh, miss. How's about that date?
comes a story
It's normal not to forget your first love, but I want you for myself. Marry me.
about what we long for
I saw your picture in the paper, and I just wanted to see if you were okay.
what we settle for,
I have a fiance waiting for me.
What happened? Who did you choose?
and who we're meant for.
Why didn't you write me? I waited for you for 7 years.
I wrote you every day for a year.
New Line Cinema presents Ryan Gosling, Rachel McAdams, James Garner, Jenna Rollins, James Marsden, with Sam Shepard and Joan Allen in a Nick Cassavetes film.
I read to her, and she remembers.
I read to her and she remembers. Kind of a spoiler.
That's true.
Right in the trailer.
Also, I learned from that trailer that we were wrong, and it is Jenna Rollins.
Jenna.
Jenna. I feel like every time I watch this, I forget about the war and that it actually plays a role in the movie. So, like, seeing the bombs, I was like, oh, forgot about that, which is crazy because it is kind of an important part of the story.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't expecting any war element to
Right.
this movie going into it.
But just to give I think a very quick overview, it's about two teenagers in the 1940s who fall in love. They're very different. Ryan Gosling is Noah, who is a poor guy. He has just like this, menial labor job. And Rachel McAdams is from this like very wealthy family. They have high expectations for what she will do with her life. And they want to be together, but her family is just not having it. So they're like, no, we're gonna move away. And this takes place all over like one summer while they're young. And then you get to see them also as like they're much older, but that's kind of like a secret while you're watching it. And then it goes to what, maybe like 5 years later, 8 years later, I don't know. They might be in like their mid-20s when they finally reunite, and you don't know if they're gonna actually like get back together or not because there are other factors involved now. So
Yeah, they have different lovers that they
yeah,
take, and it gets a little messy.
it is messy. Stella is barking right now. She loves the Notebook. And she's like, I can't believe you're talking about it without me.
She loves the podcast. She wants to be in the room with us.
That's probably it. Obviously, you did not see this until 2025. What expectations did you have about this movie?
Yeah, I knew it was a big one, and I feel like I've definitely seen the scene of the rain scene where they kiss and that whole thing. I feel like I've seen memes of that, and maybe them yelling at each other. I don't know. It feels like I think those are my main expectations. That it was just like it was a big romantic movie that girls loved, and that and made them cry. And I don't know. It never really seemed like something that I wanted to dig into, but I felt like I don't know. 2025 was a year to change that.
Yeah, it definitely was.
What about you? Do you remember when you first saw this movie?
I definitely saw it in the theater. So I would have been, depending on when it came out in 2004, I was probably 15. So I'm sure one of my friends who already had their driver's license drove us to the movies, and we probably all cried because we were
Yeah.
teenage girls. But yeah, I definitely loved it. I'm sure we were super pumped about it too, because just like when I was talking about A Walk to Remember,
Uh-huh.
we're these like romantic young teens. And, it was just, we love seeing a story like that, young people falling in love. So I'm pretty sure I was already excited about it. And then we all just loved it so much.
Do you think you remember if you like connected that this was like the same guy who wrote this, wrote A Walk to Remember? Like, do you think you were?
I bet they probably advertised that a bit. And it wasn't in the trailer we just watched, was it? It just said like
No.
best-selling author.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if at the time they included that in some of the advertising, like from the author of A Walk to Remember.
Yeah, I guess this was actually Nicholas Sparks' first book that he wrote
Yeah.
in 1996. And I think there's interest to like make a movie of it pretty instantly. And I think Steven Spielberg actually was going to try to direct it. And
Ooh,
he wanted Tom Cruise to play Noah.
what?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of different directors attached to this, and it just like I don't know, kept not working out. And
I'm thinking about how old Tom Cruise would have been in 2004. He would still have been like in his 40s, probably.
yeah, in his 30s. I don't know. It definitely would have been too old to be a teenager.
Yeah. Late 30s, maybe early 40s.
Yeah, and I guess there's also a moment where they thought maybe George Clooney could do it, but he also would have been way too old, I feel like.
Interesting. I mean, maybe they wanted to like kind of change it a little bit so they wouldn't have been teens, but
And I guess it was narrowed down to Britney Spears and Rachel McAdams.
I have heard that before. I
That
remember hearing that.
would have been a very different movie
Yes, it
if
would. But Britney Spears was on the Mickey Mouse Club with Ryan Gosling. So maybe they would have already had like some fun chemistry. Who knows?
yeah, probably not as good as the chemistry that he had with McAdams, though, because
No, nothing as good as that.
I feel like out of all the Sparks movies I've seen so far, they got the most sparks,
Oh, for
chemistry
sure.
sparks.
Yeah, sparks are flying everywhere. You cannot avoid them. You're gonna get burnt to a crisp by these sparks.
In a good way.
Okay, going into this, it's a big movie. Some of the maybe major scenes that are gonna come up.
Yeah, I guess mainly just the rain scene, I guess. Maybe that was the only
Okay,
scene I really knew, but I feel like that just scene would just pop up everywhere because it's so huge.
yeah. What what did you like about this movie, or what did you like the most?
Yeah, definitely. It was all the stuff, all the scenes with Gosling and McAdams, just because they're two great movie stars and they have great chemistry with each other. And yeah, I feel like mostly the scenes I really love were is the scenes where they're kind of arguing and yelling at each other. Like, I don't know, they just
Yeah.
really get into it. And Gosling is just like, "What do you want?" Uh,
Yeah.
And then like when she's like shoving him and slapping him around, and it gets real toxic and messy in a way I wasn't expecting, but I really enjoyed.
You love toxic relationships.
Yeah, I do have a thing of I don't know, I love to see couples fighting in movies. I don't know. Like
Did you ever
Revolutionary
stick
Road
with
and
Marriage Story?
yeah, Marriage Story, Revolutionary Road,
Oh,
Before Midnight. Those all those
ooh.
movies have really
Revolutionary Road is a tough one.
I mean, I've only seen it once, but I remember liking it in like high school. I was like, "Ooh, the couples are fighting."
Maybe you have some trauma down there.
I don't know. I just like to see it when things don't work out and the
Isn't there,
the drama and the emotions are spilling
yeah.
over. I think that's always entertaining.
There's a line too, I think, where Rachel McAdams says like, "This is what we do. We fight, and then we
Yeah.
make up." Something like that.
Yeah, maybe Gosling says that. One of them says that.
Yeah, one of them says it, and it's just like, yeah, that is what you do.
And he's like, you're a pain in the ass 99% of the time. It's like,
Yeah,
he says some mean stuff.
but they're deeply in love.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are like, this is not a good relationship. There's red flags. I mean, even we were saying that there's a lot of red flags going on with him
Oh yeah,
early on. I mean, just how they meet is a big red flag
yeah.
and stuff.
On rewatch for sure. A lot more stuff sticks out as like, ooh, you know, being an adult and having been in therapy for a long time. It's like, oh, I recognize behavior. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, what are your some of your favorite parts?
Honestly, same as you. I feel like the chemistry between them is palpable. It's probably the best thing about this movie. Um, and of course, yes, the rain scene. It's so iconic, truly, and
It
uh,
still isn't over.
I know. It's just all the dialogue during that, when he's like, "I wrote you every day for a year." But yeah, it still isn't over. And then she runs up and they kiss, and it's this moment that you've been waiting for. As we're watching this movie, it's probably been what, like 40 minutes has
Yeah.
passed since they've been together. So this reunion is what you've been waiting for, and it finally happens. And I do think it really was worth it. Like the anticipation worked, everything worked, and they finally got to do the dirty because
Yeah.
they didn't do it when they were young.
They almost did, but then
Yeah,
she kind of got freaked out.
they got interrupted.
Oh yeah.
Remember somebody, their friend, like pulled up in his truck or something and was like,
Yeah,
"Everybody's looking for Allie."
yeah,
Because
they were
her
trying to
parents,
bang on the floor, but
yeah, they were trying to bang on the floor of that old house. And then their friend came and said basically that her parents were like freaking out and called the police looking for her and stuff because it was like 2 in the morning or something. They got interrupted and never got to do it. But
yeah. But
in
she's
the
engaged when they do it, so
yeah, it's
that's pretty
not good.
messy.
It is messy. It's so messy. Yeah, and again, like watching this now, it's like, ooh, yeah, that's as a 15-year-old, you don't have such a full understanding of like adult relationships and what that would actually mean to like cheat on your fiance, you know.
Yeah. And her
Um
fiance is James Marsden, who's done nothing wrong. He's just kind of like the perfect rich guy.
yeah, but it really still I still really love that moment. It's a good reunion, the
hmm
chemistry, the dialogue, the anticipation. I think it all works very well. Um
Yeah, I think I was expecting that before I saw this movie that was like the last scene of the movie, but there's actually like 30 or 40 more minutes after that. Like there's
yeah,
still a lot.
there's still a lot to go.
So that was a surprising thing is that like that scene happens a little sooner than I was expecting.
Yeah. And at that point you don't know what's going to happen. Like, are they going to actually get together, or is she going to go back to James Marsden? Lon is his character's name. Yeah, it's still a lot unknown. Um and the kind of frame of the story is the older couple where uh James Garner, James Garner
Yeah.
is telling the story to Jenna Rollins, but you don't know yet who they are. Like at first, eventually you realize that she is Allie, but the gentleman is going by the name Duke. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, is this a nickname? Is this a third man she met later in life? And if it is a nickname, we don't know whose it is. We don't know if it's Noah or if it's Lon.
Yeah, I like how the movie treats it as like there isn't like a big reveal or like I don't know, just like it kind of as you watch more scenes, it just kind of becomes clear that he's old Ryan Gosling.
Falling into place gently rather than being like a, oh my God.
Yeah, they don't treat it like a big twist or anything. It just like
No.
I think it kind of becomes obvious, I guess, when like his like kids, and there's like a scene with like him and the kids, and I don't know, but I guess that could be Marsden at that point.
Yeah. I
But
think
it just
you can guess either direction as you're watching it, but if you're smart, you know it's Ryan Gosling.
yeah, I didn't really have a question in my heart that it was Gosling. Yeah, I did find out that the director of this movie, Nick Cassavetes, is the son of the director and actor John Cassavetes, and his mom is Gina Rollins. So he's directing it.
Yeah.
Jenna, he's directing his own mother in this movie, which is kind of interesting.
Ah,
It's a fun fact.
it is a fun fact. But don't get it confused with our Sparks fun fact, which will be coming later.
Yeah, that's a notebook fun fact, not a Sparks fun fact. Yeah, both me and Whitney have the sniffles today, so I'm sorry if that affects our voice on
Yeah,
this episode.
we're both kind of stuffy and don't sound our best, but I don't know what my best really sounds like, so
Yeah, we wanted to be at our best for the notebook episode because it's a big one, but you get what you
you
get.
don't throw a fit.
So, do you have any least favorite parts of the notebook?
On rewatching again, like as an adult with a obviously I'm much more mature now, different perspective. I think some of the stuff in the beginning um really made me a little cringe, like when Ryan Gosling is trying to woo Rachel McAdams. So like at the very beginning of the movie, they're at that carnival and he just like sees her somewhere and it just immediately is like in love and they get introduced um and she's obviously not interested in him, but then like she goes on the what's it, Ferris wheel
Ferris wheel.
with somebody else, and Gosling is like so desperate for her attention he like runs over and like jumps onto the Ferris wheel and is just like hanging there while it's going, so he's like right in front of her. And I was like, dude, that is so toxic. That is scary. That is love bomby. There's like so much going on there. So I think watching this now, some of those behaviors and some of the toxicity that maybe you enjoy because you like watching them fight.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't like that this time around. I was like, dang, they're kind of messy.
Yeah, a little bit physically abusive or
Right. Yeah,
well, she is to him. He like
she smacks him a lot.
yeah, and then he starts smacking himself, which is funny.
At one point I feel like he kind of like holds on to her because she's like smacking him. So he kind of
Yeah.
like grabs her arms or something just to kind of like hold her in place. But yeah, they are kind of, yeah, it is a little bit abusive with that.
Yeah. I do really like the Ferris wheel scene just because it is so insane and it like
Like,
caught my attention.
yeah, it's crazy, like fun to watch. And that's something that again, as a teenager, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so romantic. I want a boy to jump on a Ferris wheel for me. And now I'm like, if someone did that, I would literally be calling the police on them. I'll probably not
Well,
because I try to avoid the police, but
well, he's like literally threatening to like kill himself if he doesn't
right?
go on a date with her, which is just like the most manipulative, insane
Yes.
thing you could do. So it's out of
Yes,
control.
that is textbook manipulation. That is red flag behavior. Like I want a therapist or something to watch this and like or like a relationship expert and point out all the like crazy terrible things about it.
I
Um
actually did watch a YouTube like that video like that with a therapist guy.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, he mostly pointed out that scene as like being insane.
hmm
Um, but yeah, there's just a
Yeah.
lot of toxic
I
kind of
mean,
communication going on.
she says no to him, and he won't take no for an answer. He asks her out like 25 times, you
Yeah, he
know?
like kind of like stalks her on the street.
Yeah. And like she's kind of playful with it, you know? There's that part in the trailer where she's like, "Well, you'll figure something out about like how to get her to go out with him." So she's a little teasing, a little playful with it, but at the same time, if someone did that to me, they would be blocked. Nothing
Yeah,
would be done, you know?
you can't block people in the 40s though.
You can't block people in the 40s. It's so true. All you could do is like send your dad after them with a shotgun or something. Be like, leave my girl alone.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
like the scene where they lie in the road though?
I did like that still. I mean, it's obviously a little dangerous, but
Yeah, at
traffic was
night.
the same back then. So you could lie in the road under a traffic light and
Yeah, cars weren't as fast. They probably
yeah,
if
they
they
probably
ran over you, they'd be fine.
you'd be okay. Just have a couple bruises. Yeah, that still is a cute scene and they dance in the street and all that. Yeah, it is just interesting. I think both of them throughout the movie, like you said, like it's messy, you know, she cheats on her fiance and I'm like, do you want to be with someone who's going to cheat on their fiance?
Yeah, and he has like a situationship or some kind of fuck buddy
Right.
relationship with a widow or something. Or
Yeah, like a lady from town. They're both kind of fucking around. Yeah, like those are red flags, dude. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't
yeah,
know. So I would say that those are the things that I didn't like as much this time around.
but it makes the movie a little bit more interesting. I feel like than if it was just more of a cut and dry kind
It
of
does.
classic romance.
It does because it's not like instant. It's not like love at first sight. Well, it is for him, but it does add some, I don't know, you're right, interest to it. There's a little bit of bumpiness, and yeah, that's true. So,
Yeah, and I
okay,
guess I heard that they didn't, or Gosling didn't like McAdams, or they like were not on set. They had some weird chemistry issues.
right. We watched that long video about it. Wasn't the video we watched that like explained their relationship? It was like a weird like robot voice the whole time.
Yeah, it was not a great video, but it did say that they were fighting on set, and Gosling was like trying to get her recast, or she like didn't he didn't think that she was right when they were filming it.
Yeah. But then they dated.
Yeah, I think it took maybe a couple years afterwards, but
hmm
then they got together, which is it's like we all knew it. We all knew you guys were into each other. You just were
Yeah.
lying to yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the first or last time, I guess. Or I guess maybe it is the first time that a Sparks on-screen couple becomes a real life couple.
Yeah, I think so. We'll get into more later. It's as we know. What didn't you like? What was your least fave?
The ending, I felt I wasn't. I mean, it's a kind of a sweet ending, but it just felt a little like it kind of drug out a little too long for me
Yeah.
because like the kind of story ends with Gosling and McAdams, and then like the last chunk of the movie is just when they're older. And I don't know, there's some good stuff in that section, but it just felt like it kind of dragged on for a little. I just wanted the movie to wrap up a little quicker at that point because like yeah, it was just dealing with her Alzheimer's, and
Yeah.
I was like maybe it could have just ended like when she like remembers and they have their nice dance together. Maybe they could have just ended it there, but then there's like
Yeah.
then like he has a heart attack and they yells at him, and I don't know.
Yeah. And he's like sneaking around to see her at night. It does go on for a bit. And it doesn't have like the rest of the movie has that fire and passion. And that's part of what makes it so interesting. So at the end, when she doesn't remember, so she doesn't have that. There isn't that same type of connection. Like obviously they've lived this long life together at that point and have loved each other for a long time. And that is what makes it like really sad at the end, but it's less exciting, you know?
Yeah, it just feels like there's a big disconnect between the characters you're seeing in their young form and when they're older.
For
Like it just
sure.
they don't feel like the same people really, except they're just telling you
Well,
that they are.
yeah, and obviously it's like Allie isn't the same person because of her Alzheimer's.
Hmm.
Um, it seems like not only has she lost a lot of her memories, but people's personalities change. Like not to be not to get super serious, but like people's personalities can really change when they have Alzheimer's. So like
Right.
she really wasn't the same person. And all we get from Noah or Duke, as he's being called for we don't know why, is just him reading the notebook to her. Like he's just reading the story and he'll like talk to the nurses in the nursing home or whatever. And they'll be like, I gotta go read to my girl or whatever. But like that's it. Yeah. We don't get much from them.
Hmm. Yeah, I did watch some deleted scenes from this movie, and there's one kind of interesting one that's uh like with Duke and when they're older, and it's like him talking to a doctor and talking about her like the beginning of her Alzheimer's, and like it kind of gets into like how it all started, like how she started to start and lose her memory. And there's actually like a scene of her telling him like, I know I'm like not gonna remember, so I want you to read this notebook to me like when I totally forget. And so she like actually like gives him the direction to like you should read this to me when I can't remember. So that was kind of an interesting thing that they cut out.
Do you think you would have liked it if they kept that scene in there?
Probably not, because I think it does feel more romantic that it's like his idea to read the notebook to her rather than like she told him to do that
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah,
But
I think so too.
it was kind of nice to get a little bit more context for like how her Alzheimer's kind of started, and they also talk about like sundowning in it, and like how like when it gets nighttime that like you can like things can get a little bit more intense in terms of memory loss or personality shifts. So I don't know. There's some interesting
Yeah.
kind of
And I guess
context there.
if anyone does want even more context, they could read the novel, The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. Just throwing that out there for anyone who might want to.
Which you haven't read.
No, of course not. I only read A Walk to Remember.
I mean, I do like that this movie has that kind of structure of like him reading to her, and it does give the movie a little bit more depth to it, a little bit more dimension. I just felt like it maybe could have wrapped up a little nicer or quicker in the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I agree with that.
for the most part, I liked most of this movie. This is definitely the my favorite Sparks adaptation I've seen so far. It's the one to beat.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen most of the ones that we're gonna watch after this. But I don't know if it will be beat. We'll find out.
Yeah. Were there any surprises for you with this movie?
Well, like I said before, every time I see it, I forget about World War II and that it like plays a part, because Noah goes off to war and his best friend dies.
And she's like a nurse in the war or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, she's a nurse. That's how she ends up meeting Lon, her fiance. I think they show all that quite quickly though. I want to say
Yeah.
what 10 minutes maybe. And I think that that also affects not only has he gone through like the loss of his like first love. So she's moved away. He wrote her all these letters and she never wrote back. But then he has to go to war and experience the trauma of that and losing his best friend. So I
Hmm.
think that really leads into what his character is like after that. He's like, he grows that beard,
Uh-huh.
so like
Yeah, he gets
he's
pretty,
like drunk.
yeah, he's very at the end of his rope.
Yeah. So I mean, it's obviously significant, but I am always surprised that they're like, oh, it's World War II. Like, of course, yes, it is World War II, but I just forget about it. So,
Hmm.
what what surprised you about this?
Yeah, I wrote down the Ferris wheel scene was very surprising to me. Just because it's just shocking to see him hanging up there and then like hanging by one arm, and I don't know, that whole way that plays out was really insane.
Yeah, what if he had just fallen and died, and then the whole movie was like her with the guy on the Ferris wheel or something?
And then that would be an interesting movie. I'd be open to that. See how that played out. But yeah, that was really shocking, and I guess I was shocked by all the bird stuff in it. There's a whole scene of where she says that she's a bird, and then there's the scene with the canoe and the millions of white geese or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if that was like Sparks I wonder if that was in the book with all his like bird things, or if that was a Cassavetes.
Yeah,
Maybe he's a bird guy. I don't know.
the birds worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the if you're a bird, I'm a bird. That's also kind of iconic. You know,
Yeah, yeah, that was a great scene.
it is. It's cute. It's silly, and then the canoe scene is another like kind of important moment. He's like, I want to show you something. And this is in when they're reunited, and he takes her out on the lake in this canoe, and they're like surrounded by a bajillion geese. And it's just this like nice moment of them. And he's kind of showing her again, like this bird thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine it must have been tough to wrangle that many geese for that scene, or maybe it was
Right.
just a happy accident that all those geese showed up.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't planned and they were just there and rolled with it.
Yeah,
Or maybe they just like had been putting food out for like a week before,
yeah.
goose food to drop them all there.
We'll have to email Nick and get the scoop on the geese.
Yeah. Or are all those geese trained actors? We don't know.
We don't know. That's a good question. We just
Yeah.
don't know.
We may never know.
Yeah, those are some surprises there. Yeah, yeah, I also like the scene when he like builds this house and he's like there's scene a little montage of him trying to sell the house, but he doesn't want to sell the house.
Yeah.
And like the one person that like offers them like way more money than he wants, and then he just like pulls out a shotgun. That gave me a good laugh. It was a
Uh,
surprising moment.
yeah. He would either be like, your offer's too low, or when they offer too much, he's like, it's too high. You're crazy. And then he gets out the shotgun. Yeah. Because obviously he's rebuilding this house for Allie. It's the house where they almost had sex. They like snuck in as teens, and he ends up buying it as an adult and like renovating the whole thing himself. So like even if he thinks he's gonna sell it,
Yeah, when they're dating, they talk about like their life and living in this house or something like that, or I don't know.
and he does it like exactly the way they talked about. Blue shutters, I think. That's how they ended up getting reunited too, because there was this like tiny feature in the newspaper where there's a picture of him with the house, and it's like local man renovates mansion or something. And she sees it and she literally passes out.
Yeah, that part felt like a bit of a stretch. Like, what do you think that would really make the front page news that somebody like renovates a house? Like, was that newsworthy back then? I don't know.
Maybe it was below the fold, It was like on the bottom of the
Yeah, it
newspapers.
wasn't the top
No,
headline.
it wasn't a no.
But it still seemed a little far-fetched that would be in the newspaper, but
Also, nothing has ever surprised me so much that I've passed out. So I don't know if something would, but
yeah. Do you think you would go with Marsden or Gosling if you were in McAdams' shoes in this movie?
that's actually a great question. And again, as an adult, as a teen, I for sure would have gone with Gosling. I was like, this is my passion, this is my love. As an adult, I might go with Marsden.
Yeah.
He's more like he seems like a steady guy, and they love each other. There's love there. Um,
Yeah, there's nothing really toxic that he does. He's
no, it's not toxic. It feels like it would be like a happy life. And I've had relationships that started out and like had all this passion and excitement and they end and it's like do I need that? Do I need all of that like craziness?
yeah, it fizzles out faster maybe.
Yeah. Okay, what about you? Who would you choose?
I guess I gotta go with Gosling just because he's my guy.
Yeah. He's so hot.
And I mean, if he built a house for me, I mean, that's hard to argue with. That's pretty. And the letters are good.
The letters were good, the house, yeah, for sure. No, it's like almost like there's not a wrong choice, but I'm trying to think realistically as an adult woman in my 30s. Like
Yeah, I
what
think.
relationship do I need and
Yeah,
want?
yeah, I think objectively, if you're looking at it, Marsden is obviously the better choice. I think.
This is great. I should tell my therapist about this. Like you've
This
grown.
is a breakthrough.
Oh,
Oh yeah, just one kind of plot hole thing or thing I thought about is because there's this whole thing of he wrote her a letter like every day for a whole year, so like 364 letters, and her
65.
mom 365, sorry. Her mom was withholding these letters, I guess, but she could have wrote him a letter, is the thing. She knew his address. And I know girls like it better when the guy like initiates things, but I feel like at some point she should have like written a letter, been like, "Hey, what's going on?" and haven't heard from you.
What's up? Are you ghosting me?
Yeah, there's nothing stopping her from writing him a letter.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, the only thing I could think of is her parents if she tried to put it in the mailbox, but she could go drop it off at the post office.
Yeah.
So that is a good question as to why she didn't do that.
Yeah, Gosling should have asked that while they're in the rain, like, you could have wrote me.
Yeah.
That's it. But
But yeah, she knows his address. How did he even give her address? Like, how did he even know where she lived when it wasn't their like summer town thing?
yeah, that's a good point.
He had to do all the work. He had to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, he tried his best to make the relationship work.
Yeah, he literally lifted that house from the ground up. So I don't know. Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
Have you ever written a love letter?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you think so? Did you mail it?
Yes.
Really?
There was some sending letters back and forth.
That's nice that you actually sent it in the mail. That's fun.
Have you written a love letter?
Yeah. But not one I've sent in the mail.
Well, you just hand it to them.
Yeah. Just write something nice or like maybe a for an anniversary, like a very long card written out, something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And I've also written poems, love poems, and given them to the person. They were appreciated at the time.
Nice.
But I don't think I've ever really like mailed a love letter, but maybe I should try.
Yeah. Should bring it back. It's a lost art form.
It is. I was thinking about this recently, just in general, everything's digital, so many things are. Um, there aren't as many pieces of like ephemera in the world. you don't stumble upon little scraps and notes and things anymore as much
Hmm.
in like your daily life. And I thought about too, like love letters. Are they around?
Yeah, it's definitely a thing Sparks thinks about because message in a bottle is kind of similar thing of a handwritten letter in a bottle,
Yes. Hand typed.
hand typed. Yeah, I forgot it was typed.
I wonder if we'll end up seeing more written physical love letters in the rest of his oeuvre. I guess
Yeah,
we will find out.
stay tuned
Yeah.
if there's more letters to come.
We see reviews we liked.
Oh yes, letterboxed reviews. Well, I have one. I think it's actually the top liked. It's the top review for the Notebook on Letterboxd. A
Mhm.
4-star review. He built her a Mojo Dojo Casa house. It's a
Yeah,
Barbie reference.
that was also one of the ones I see.
It's
Yeah,
true. He really did.
he really did. Um, one of the ones I saved was it's like a teeny bit of dialogue where it says, "What happens if a car comes? We die." And then they said, "Need me a freak like that." That was a 3-star review. Okay, this is not really specifically a review of the Notebook, but it is a really good letterboxed review. It says, I once asked a Lyft driver what he thought the saddest movie ever was, and he said The Notebook. I asked him what he thought the second saddest movie ever was, and he said Fast and Furious 7. So I think that's a pretty good review there.
Sounds like an interesting man.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have a fun Rachel McAdams fact or a family connection to Rachel McAdams I want to
Yes,
mention.
I actually remembered it. You told me to remember, and I said I wouldn't, but I did. So,
Well, she was in a movie called The Lucky Ones, and my Uncle Glenn was also in that movie, and they got to share a scene together.
what?
Yeah, because my Uncle Glenn was an actor. He's now retired in Hawaii, but um, it's actually on YouTube that you can see his scene with her. And I asked my Uncle Glenn about if he had any memories of working with Rachel McAdams. And he says, she was a sweetheart, so nice and complimentary to me about my work. She was an angel. All three of the actors were top notch. I was lucky to be there. No pun intended. Ha.
Oh, because the lucky ones.
Yeah, it's called The Lucky Ones.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool and sweet. Wait, I'm looking at the cast of that movie. Is your Uncle Glenn Allen Pruitt?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Uncle Glenn! Shout out
Yeah.
Uncle Glenn. I love that.
Yeah, Tim Robbins is also in that movie, which reminds me that I had the take for A Walk to Remember that I thought Shane West looked like a young Tim Robbins if he was a little more edgy.
Yeah, you forgot to say that during that episode.
Yeah. Also forgot to say that we're eating Numinos while
Yeah,
we watched A Walk to Remember, which was something you brought up, uh,
during Message in a Bottle.
starring Paul Newman.
There's gonna be like a connection from each movie that connects to the next one on and on and on. It's just not gonna end.
I mean, that's just good podcasting. Just making these connections.
Yeah. So the Numenals were great, right?
Yeah, it was my first time trying Numinos. I was really impressed with the quality of the cream.
Yeah. You
And
left some at my house, and I actually just finished them last night. They were supposed to be for the movie we watched, but no.
well, I got 2 packages of it, so I can bring the second package for the next movie.
Time we watch one.
Numinos were good.
We got the Rachel McAdams family connection. We got Tim Robbins and Shane West doppelganger, and we got Numenos. I think those are probably all of our random loose ends for the moment, right?
Yeah, those were the big things I wanted to address in this
Okay.
episode.
Important things, though. Okay, let's talk about our Nicholas Sparks fun fact. What do you think?
Do you have one for us?
I do.
Yes.
Sparks fact.
I think we know that a lot of these movies and books are set in North Carolina, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if, I mean, all of them, maybe. We'll find out, I guess. So, Nicholas Sparks lives in North Carolina. He was not born there, but he moved there in the 90s to a city called New Bern, Bern. And I think he's lived there ever since. But what's fun is that that city was the first capital of North Carolina, and it's the birthplace of Pepsi Cola.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's one of the biggest colas out there.
it is top five cola for sure.
So you're saying it was the first capital and then they switched to a different capital?
Yeah, I don't know what the capital of North Carolina is. Is it Raleigh?
I want to say Raleigh.
I feel like I watched a different movie recently where they had this like old giant Pepsi sign in the background of something.
Madam Web.
Was that Madam Web?
I remember we watched that together, and there's like a big climactic scene with a big Pepsi billboard,
Oh my gosh,
and
maybe
then
that was
it
it.
falls into the ocean.
That was it, probably. That's so funny.
Yeah, we watched it together.
I would not have remembered what that was. Yeah, and I did fall asleep during that because I was kind of high, right?
Yeah, not a good movie. Wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. I did actually really want to watch it though, because I wanted to watch it for being bad.
Yeah,
But anyway, so Nicholas Sparks lives in New Bern, which is the birthplace of Pepsi Cola. So
love it.
love it.
Sparks fact.
What star rating would you give The Notebook?
So on Letterboxd, I gave it 4 stars. And I think part of that is nostalgia, just like Walk to Remember. Um, I've loved this movie for a long time. I think if I watched it for the first time now, I might give it like a 3.5, but I'm still gonna leave it at a 4. How about you?
Yeah, when I watched it with you, I logged it as 3.5 stars. Definitely good, liked it. But
Mhm.
like now that we watched a few more Nicholas Sparks movies, it's kind of made me appreciate this one even more. And
Yeah,
maybe I'd bump it up to 4 stars just because
yeah.
the chemistry is so good. And rewatching some of the scenes today is like it's like yeah, this movie's got a lot of good scenes in it. And I like the 40s kind of aesthetic of it. It's got some good music. I don't know. It's just a good classic romance movie. It's hard to beat.
So we'll have to find out if the next movie will beat The Notebook. Um,
Nights in Rodanthe.
yes. So next up is Nights in Rodanthe from 2008, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, 2008.
You haven't seen it?
No, I have not seen it. We're coming up on mostly ones I haven't seen, so
Yeah, the things are gonna get interesting, I
yeah,
think.
they are going to get interesting. I'm going to have some actual surprises and expectations. So,
Yeah. So yeah, stay tuned next time for Nights in Rodanthe.
yes, thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.